Hi guys, Zach here. It's been a long while since I posted any videos on this channel, and I'll go into the reasons for that in this video. Now, these games are from the current quick match season. They're the first 3 games I played. I've only got highlights of the second game though, because it wasn't too good to be honest, so I didn't think it was worthwhile showing the whole match. And this first match though was against a gamer called Drunk Gamer, who's ranked around the 30 mark, so he is a pretty good player, so it was quite a tough first match of the new season. Now, I didn't actually plan on taking a break after my last video, which was why I didn't mention anything. Otherwise, if I'd known I was going to be away for 3 months, I would have said something. What happened is I'd been applying for jobs, and I think I posted my last video on a Wednesday, and on that Wednesday I got invited for an interview on the Friday because I'd been applying for a number of positions, which didn't give me much time to prepare. I also had some interviews the following week as well, which I needed to prepare for as well. Now, I ended up getting accepted into one of the positions for a full-time job. Now, before I started this full-time job, I had been doing private tutoring, which was for maths and science students who were taking their GCSEs and A-levels. So for those of you who aren't English, those are sort of the exams you take when you're 16 or 18. And so some of my students that I'd been tutoring for a number of years had exams coming up, and I didn't think it was really fair to get rid of them just before their exams after I've been tutoring them for so long. So I was doing my full-time job and doing some tutoring as well at the same time at that point. And what that meant is I was working 60+ hour weeks, which meant I didn't have much time to dedicate to playing Red Alert or doing YouTube videos, and that's the reason for the break. Now that the exams have finished, I'm back to a bit more, well, a new normal for me, I guess. I'm just doing my full-time job, so I'm going to have a bit more time to play Red Alert and do YouTube videos again. So hopefully I'll be posting a bit more regularly from now on. I haven't been looking at comments on YouTube, so I'm probably going to start looking at them today and maybe responding to some of them. But yeah, I just had a complete break. I just needed to focus on starting my new job and doing alright, and also just completing my self-employed stuff and sort of tying that off. Right, back to the game. So this was obviously, you can see he did have quite a lot of infantry early on, and I think he could have probably pushed a little bit harder early on. He did have the infantry advantage, but he has left it quite late. Now it's getting into more of a tank battle. So what I'm doing now is I'm just building medium tanks. You have to set up an economy on this map a little bit, so it's... What I've done is I've gone ore refinery, war factory, ore refinery, but you don't really have time to build 2 ore trucks because it's a very small map. And if you take the time to build 2 ore trucks, what can happen is you can get attacked early by the other player with tanks, and it can sort of screw your game a little bit. You can see I've got the upper hand at the moment. He's had to build a flamethrower, but flamethrowers aren't too effective against medium tanks, so that's all right. Now, I think it's probably a good idea that I was building medium tanks in this situation, because as you can see, they're a bit more durable than light tanks, and I think he's going for infantry as well, and I think if I'd been building light tanks at this point, I would have been in real trouble. So that's a good thing for me. So there's different strategies. He's going for infantry and tanks, and I'm going just tanks. Infantry, I don't know, they're quite strong against tanks so far as if you try and fire infantry, if you try and sort of like shoot the infantry with tanks, they're quite hard to kill. But you can also run them over, so the more tanks I have, the harder it'll get for him to use infantry. So when you've only got like a couple of tanks, I do think infantry can be quite effective, and sometimes I think they're underestimated a bit. And that was quite a good squash there from me. And you can see that's, I think he's running out of money at the moment a bit. Now, I'd made a bit of a mistake here because I'd stopped building. So you can see now I'm building again. I've got like over 5,000 ore. So I thought, at this point what I thought is I'd better build some infantry at the same time just to get my forces built up again, because you can see he's getting a bit of the upper hand. And you can see this has allowed him to sort of like push into my base. And what I've doing now is I'm just building a little pillbox there. pillboxes are very effective against infantry, and they just give you that bit of an advantage, especially if you're fighting tanks as well. And because I've had that sudden influx of money, I'm able to build up these forces quite well. You can see I'm just destroying that barracks. He's focusing on squashing my infantry with that heavy tank. He's managed to do that, and now I've got that pillbox placed down, and you can see he knows it's over. And for those of you who are seeing this on a small screen, he's just said F you in the chat, so he's seriously not happy with that, and it would damage his score quite a bit, because I think because he was ranked quite highly and I was unranked at that point because that was my first match. This was the second game I played, and as you can see, he's trying an engineer rush with a few infantry, and it didn't go too well for him. It was a bit of a poor game, really. If you're going to try an engineer rush, you at least need to try and take them in a people carrier, or maybe transport them by the sea. That works on this map. So that wasn't a very good idea from the other player there. And basically, this is just the end where I just steamrolled him because he'd spent all that money on engineers. He'd done nothing with them, so I had a lot more money than he did to spend on tanks and stuff. And you can see this is just the end of the game. It's pretty much he has nothing to defend with. And that's the thing about engineer rushing. You have to, if an engineer rush is very risky, because if it doesn't work, it does mean you're basically doomed. And that was the end of that game. This is the third game, which was on the map Bullseye. This player was a little bit better than the last one. He was ranked around the 100 position, so he was a decent player. And on this map, what I tend to go for is I go for Ore Refinery, War Factory, Ore Refinery, because it is an ore-only map. And I will try and build 2 ore trucks before I start building tanks. Rush strategies, they can work on this map. As long as you, I mean, yeah, like any map really, I guess. But usually the 2 ore refineries early on is usually a good idea. Now for this map, what you tend to try and do is you need to be very good at using infantry for defence, defending against scouts. Because there are quite a few ways scouts can get into your base, so it's really about early game, about putting those infantry at all the points where scouts can enter your base. Because what you want to do is you don't want your opponent to know whether you're going to do a rush or whether you're going to go for the more economic approach. Because if they know what you're doing, they can sort of change their strategy and do the opposite or something like that anyway. So I'm just going to try and... I've been a bit careless there. You can see he's got a whole bunch of infantry there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and squash them with the ore truck. And that's worked really well for me because he has lost quite a lot there. And that's going to be quite costly for him because that would have cost him quite a bit in ore. And you can see he's trying to bring scouts in. So he's got a bit of visibility on my base. Not too much. He didn't get that far in. But he'll probably be able to see what I'm doing with my ore trucks and stuff like that. I'm still going to go for the same strategy though. I'm not going to need to change it up at this point. And I'm just trying to get as much scouting done as I possibly can. And you can see, I can see a couple of infantry coming from the north there. So I'm aware of what's going on there as well. So far it's been quite quiet. And usually if someone's doing a rush, you would be seeing them quite soon. I am getting my tanks out now, so I should be in quite a strong position. And I could have done a better job of getting that middle scouted out, because the middle, it does give you, sometimes people send tanks across the middle. And also you need to check for people setting up a base in the middle. I don't think this guy did, but yeah, if they set up a base in the middle, it's usually better to attack them a little bit earlier. And you can see that Cyan is coming from the bottom, and he's got a few light tanks, so he's gone for light tanks. I've gone for medium tanks. Medium tanks are more durable, but they only do about the same amount of damage as light tanks. So light tanks are probably better for destroying buildings or doing a lot of damage, and they're a bit more manoeuvrable as well. My medium tanks are a little bit slower, and you can see it looks like he's going for buildings, but you can see I've almost got one of those tanks destroyed. And this is a point where I have a decision to make. I have got an ore refinery being built, I can either continue to build that ore refinery or I can start to build pillboxes. And in this situation I was thinking, hey, it's a bit dangerous, I'm going to need to build some pillboxes. And pillboxes tend to be quite effective if you're fighting against light tanks. He's also got some infantry in the mix, and pillboxes are also really good against infantry as well. So I'm building some pillboxes. He has lost quite a few tanks from trying to attack my buildings. And what he needs to make sure he does is he needs to take out important buildings. So you can see he's come back in now. He's trying to take out that pillbox, and while he's destroying that pillbox, I'm destroying his tanks, so that's really actually helping me quite a bit. And you can see we've got 3 tanks down there pretty easily, and I'm not losing any tanks while he does this. And if we look at this point, I think I've got about 10 tanks there, and he's got about 2. So you can see, the longer this goes on, the larger tank numbers I get, and his tank numbers start to dwindle. And you can see he's retreating now back to his base. And that's the thing about these types of matches. If you don't do enough damage, then you lose the game. And he just said you win in the chat there. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys. As I say, I'm back to normal working schedule now, so hopefully I will be able to get a few more videos out there.